Okay, good morning, everyone. Yes, we are meeting here today for getting to know more about volumetric video and especially the difference between RGB plus depth, or so-called LiDAR, and the pure RGB approach of the big studios. So let's begin with an famous director, Neil Blomkamp. He did 2020 a movie called Demonic, and it was the first cinema movie who somehow went the major road of having constantly volumetric recording in its film. The other big known movie is The Last Matrix, who have been realized through a major studio in Berlin, Berlin. And so let's start. I will switch away from the presentation and will play the 5-minute clip from Neil Blomkamp, an interview by Wired, and then we will come back to the presentation or to other content. So let me switch to the clip. We share this, and I go back here, and I'm starting the clip.
Demonic, a new horror film set in a digital simulation, used a new technology called volumetric capture to create its video game-inspired look.
250 cameras is compressed into one 3D object.
This is Neil Blomkamp, the director of Elysium, Chappie, and the groundbreaking District 9.
All of the science fiction films that I've done before have maybe a tinge of horror to them, and this horror film has a tinge of science fiction to it.
Let's walk through Neil's process of rolling 250 cameras all at once to create Demonic's simulated world.
So we travel into the mind of a person who's in a coma, and this experimental technology lets them get out of their body, which they don't have control over, into a virtual environment.
Why are you here?
It might feel like a video game, but in reality, it's a specific location in British Columbia. In fact, everything you see here was captured from real-life people and places, and digitized using the techniques of photogrammetry and volumetric capture. Here are the steps in bringing the simulation to life.
Google Earth is a good way to think of photogrammetry. If you look at cities in Google Earth in 3D, it's the exact same process. Those are just planes that are flying over cities and taking tens of thousands of photos. If you imagine walking around a house and taking 100 photos around the house, and then you would use drones to get things like what the roof surfaces would look like, and then you would do a tour through the inside of the house using handheld still shots. I mean, we were just using Canon Mark IIIs. If you give all of those photos, which are all still images, to a photogrammetry piece of software, it'll pull out a three-dimensional house. Its fidelity is a little bit low, so blades of grass and trees and stuff would be more like blobs, but it's still pretty good. You can see the tree on the left is left at a resolution level that I wanted to leave it at, which makes it look very computer generated. So now you have a 3D object that you can look at from any angle sitting on a computer monitor.
Although photogrammetry has been around a while, volumetric capture hasn't, especially not in filmmaking.
Volumetric capture is the idea of grabbing three-dimensional holographic video instead of two-dimensional video of a performance of actors at 24 a second. So it's essentially a motion version of photogrammetry. So you're not locked into a single angle. You have like a three-dimensional stage play of their performance. So in the case of Demonic, if we have Carly and Natalie in the same room acting with one another, if you were to pause any frame in there, you could move around them in 3 dimensions, because any individual one frame is a frozen 3-dimensional piece of geometry. Filming in volumetric capture is very taxing. It's a highly synthetic environment that is not great for actors. I mean, it's essentially a scaffold cage of cameras that are around them. We had 250 cameras, and you want those 250 cameras to be incredibly close to them. And then when you get to the front door, we would wheel in a plywood door that obscured her as little as possible, so it would just look like a skeleton of a door. And that would give her something to push open. If she goes upstairs, we'd bring in plywood stairs that she would go up. Instead of using VFX to lift up the mother in this demonic possession idea of just being levitated off the ground, you would normally use a bunch of computers to do that, but we actually just use traditional stunt rigging with wires to lift her out of the volumetric capture environment. If you imagine a video game character that you can turn around and look at from any angle, that is basically what you end up with.
One issue the production team ran into was wrangling all the data. Shooting in volumetric capture yielded about 12 terabytes per day.
My brother and I had to bring in 24 computers that we owned on the back of a pickup truck to be able to help get the data off. And then they would spend an additional 12 hours getting that data off of the cameras and clearing them for the next morning, and sort of by 7 a.m. being done with the day before.
Once the footage is finally adjusted, computers go to work crunching all the camera angles into a three-dimensional piece of geometry.
The first thing that you actually get is a point cloud. Then when you zoom back from it, you can see it very clearly. When you zoom into it, points become separate, like they're floating atoms. It's anywhere between an hour to several hours to compute one frame. You're doing, thousands of frames. It took months.
In fact, VFX artists, with the help of Unity, a game engine used to make games like Pokemon Go, Monument Valley, and Cuphead, had to create a custom workflow with enhanced processors in order to be able to render the enormous volumetric datasets into virtual reality, where the shots were then filmed.
You're basically dragging a three-dimensional actor and placing them on the floor of your building that you've gathered, also using photogrammetry. So now it's like a video game. Now you can look at it from any angle, and you can light it any way that you want, and you can film it any way you want. You take that virtual camera existing in the scene on a computer, and you tell it that any motion that comes from this real handheld object in the real world with the monitor on it, which has motion capture points on it, those motion capture points, when the camera operator moves them, you tell the virtual camera in your scene to reference these motion capture points and move based on what the camera operator is doing. So as he pans right, your virtual camera will exactly mimic what he's doing. And then you take the video feed coming from the virtual camera and you pipe it to the monitor that he's looking through. So he's effectively now inside the computer looking at the scene. And so he can then walk around and frame shots.
There seems to be plenty of interlacing between the worlds of filmmaking and game design. Will the two disciplines merge in the future?
It seems to me where...
So we will now break this video and we'll go on,
more and more
because in general this...
character, physics, and particle simulations. So it becomes an immersive...
So this filmmaker, Neil Blomkamp, have done its production around in 2020, maybe even begin in 2019. And Volumetric have constantly developed. So what he did, every frame takes hours, is now where the big studios are. It's on an absolutely different level. So in these days, the big studios have been as the biggest studio in the world actually was in 2019 still alive, and it got later teared down. It was by Intel. And I will now look with you into a representation of what Intel did in the past. And there have been several immersive XR production used this amazing facility. Well, it was the biggest volumetric studio ever, but it was not feasible. It was not. There was too less of an shooting. The medium grow over the last years, and by now. We have like 100 volumetric studios or a little bit above volumetric studios around the world. I will touch the topic where they are and who have actually worked with this medium. So this is an Intel trailer of their medium, of their recording facility, and what they did there and what they are here. This is from the Queerskin Arc. This is a very famous, multiple prizes winning experiences. And they were the only one who could in the past have a lot of humans at the same time in the recording studio. That was something extraordinary in these days, and it's somehow still to today. The limitations are mostly 2-3 people, but we are touching as well the topic of sports, and there's something else coming. Okay, so we will go now to Canon. So Canon, for example, have now developed to revolutionize sports. They developed a new technique called free fly, and it's an entire studio concept, and they are applying it to venues like stadiums and football, basketball, baseball, NFL, whatever. They are going intensely in the direction of that sports will be consumed in the future in a different way.
Volumetric video captures an entire space using numerous cameras and renders a virtual 3D space from 2D data. Cameras capture every angle, recording and storing the entire space.
So Canon is part with Sony and several other companies like NVIDIA, Intel, Zeiss, and so on. They are part of the Volumetric Video Association, and they are trying to develop the medium to its new heights.
From each camera angle.
It's a little bit very special kind of aesthetics they have chosen for this commercial.
Once color, texture, and other data are added, volumetric video can reproduce the scene as video from any desired angle.
So, but in general, in this kind of major area, the fidelity and the mesh quality of the faces appear in this promotional video still a little bit low, and the cameras are often a little bit far away to not unveil the that it's not the highest resolution or it's not kind of resolution. But as the audience is anyway not used to be close to the face to a sports person, so they are in general using this technique for transmitting the action of the game.
This allows instant replay from any angle in live sporting and other events.
So let's jump from that's a.
Canon has its own dedicated volumetric video studio. More than 100 4K cameras capture footage to generate volumetric video for a wide area. Volumetric video, time and space are digitalized to render an area as 3D data. The applications don't stop with video either. This data has a vast range of potential uses. Thanks to volumetric video technology, the ability to capture and render 3D spaces will forever transform the conventional world of three-dimensional video.
So there are certain podcasts already on the internet available how they predict the sports viewing will change. So let's go now, for example, to cover all the companies, to not give one company the kind of only they are doing it. So somehow it's a topic what everyone is at the moment touching. So this was Canon, now it's Sony. They are going there and they are having done experiments more with the music video world, as well with the performance and stage and AR world. So here we see that even the big studios are using marker-based matching. This will be touching later as well when we're coming to the presentation. This is really a high-class recording of dancing people, as you have so many cameras from around. Even when the people are covering each other, they are absolutely perfectly separated and having no mesh interferences. That's really a high-class example. But as we can see, somehow we will go on with different examples. There are two different approaches to volumetric video, and capturing with volumetric video often it's used for representing reality, real human performance, and then it comes to the creator, to the creative mind, how to use it to give the audience something what they couldn't get with the traditional recording techniques. And storytelling-wise, how to use it to narratively guide for the different use cases, either VR, AR, or still 2D use cases. So let's jump to the next. We are going now to to a French TV channel. It's TF1, what we're seeing in the upper corner. And TF1, there is a guy called Christophe Aragona, and he's the specialist in this TV channel. And he uses this modern technique in combination with a volumetric recording studio to deliver unique experiences for docutainment, flashbacks, or storytelling about historical events. And they are touching here the topic of the storm on the Normandy. So I will now jump a little bit in the video to speed up. So for example, here's the moderator in the scene together with actors or with human performers, let's say, who are in costume, filmed in volumetric, placed in the engine, and then used for a different way of storytelling. They have decided to go here extremely slow-mo and turntable storytelling technique, what is a little bit repetitive, but Christophe Aragona is absolutely one of the first who brings this kind of technique for news infotainment. So that's I wanted to show that it's happening right now for a different way of storytelling. I will jump a little bit later on the when they are speaking about the storm on the Normandy, and then again the storyteller, the moderator, the guy who delivers us the information is actually together with the soldiers on the beach. Not to forget, of course, recording in general with way less effort. These figures, you don't have to rig them, you don't have to animate them. It's not avataring. It's just a real human being filmed from all the angles and then assembled to an volumetric representation of the real action, the real performance of the actor. But still, you need a person who is behind everything, like the Unity programmer. Here we see a lot of VFX fire and so on. So it's a group of people who are working on delivering the result. But in general, it's less than working with CG characters. It's a faster progress to get the actors, and especially when you go hyper slow-mo, you only record tiny moments. As volumetric video is in general, the price is calculated on minutes per minute. So the prices I will touch later, but it's a quite expensive medium as the investments of the studio are quite high. Like a today's volumetric studio by a Swiss company, it's 40 views. And 40 views are selling the studios around, let's say, 400,000 euro in this area, and then you get everything built up, and then you are able to record such a project. Okay, next. So what we will show that Intel have, for example, was the second use case for TV. They supported the Olympics this year and used different kind of engagement, promoting the everyone. They were different roles.
Martin, can you please repeat the last sentence from the Olympics, because we are having network problems.
Do that, we leverage the process that unlocks the ability do what we do, to be able to leverage 20, 30, 40 or more all in a single processor, in a single machine, is only possible with Xeon scalable processors.
Yeah, it's a promotional clip. Yeah, the issue that how they volumetric for the promotion and for different kind of content for the Olympics 2024.
The rights holders get that content, and
so once more back jump to the Christophe Aragon work for the one. And
Martin, can you hear me? Can you
yes.
hear me? Can we please go back to the Olympics because our video froze? Can you reshare it, maybe?
Wait. Again. I have to go back to our presentation. So it stopped, or what happened?
Everything froze for us. Can you please try stop the sharings, stop the screen sharing and start it again? Maybe it will help.
Okay, stop the screen sharing. Okay, I stopped the screen sharing.
And try to start it again. Martin?
Hearing. I start again the sharing?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we go to tabs, we go to the media player, we go to share, and we see single recording of single human beings put into game engine scene and then used together with the moderator for delivering a different way of storytelling and experience to.
Martin, can you maybe turn off your camera because we still can't see your screen sharing?
Wait. Pause again, please.
Can you pause your camera?
Yes, I can pause my camera.
And try the screen sharing again.
And then screen sharing on. Maybe we soon to the presentation if the media player creates problems, share. And then I'm in the media player. Wait. And then I go play. Is it work? Wait. So. Yeah, it's working, yes?
Yes, it's working back. Thank you.
Okay, but we can in general go this make some problems. I don't want to crash this thing again. So okay. General there's maybe one don't sorry we can switch the this an overview about is over the field studios are the recordings what we will the fact in stop hearing yeah the share I will show. Okay. Wait. I can hear you. I'm hear you. My okay, and me? You don't. I can stop and start my camera. Stop and start one more time. Okay, so as we have seen before, several public available on YouTube, and what the big approach is to the bigger productions. now tackle, as you got a little bit of background where and how volumetric is used. We go now to the fact that actually individual, like even others, there are several price models available. So we will go now into the differences between RGB depth and pure RGB. So let me choose this. Okay, so we see here in general, lately it's the termina for describing volumetric video came eccentric human volumetric video. So it's actually not avataring, it's not rigging, it's not puppeteering of a scanned outside, a scanned skin of an actor. What then can be every day. Volumetric video records in general the performance, how it's performed. And there are, if you go the certain road to go to the highest class of post-production software, you can maybe move like some centimeters if the 3D asset needs to touch a wall on the wall, and actually the digital wall is a little bit off. You can maybe morph a little centimeters in more realistic, but in general performance. Already there were intermetric records that they puppeteer by some. So is the perform real human being into game engines, and for VR, AR, or for 2D use. Okay, we go on. So I select those for them the most common choices. We have here on the one hand the RGB+Depth. This is now Microsoft was ruling this segment in the past together with Intel, and but Microsoft decided to cancel, to discontinue their hardware, and they gave concept of the so-called Asia Microsoft Asia Kinect DK developer kit was the DK for, and they give it to the company Orbeck. And in general, the most used sensor now through a company, what we will touch later, Volt. So that by the company Orbeck. We have Intel have been before and is still in this segment. They have a huge variety of depth sensors. I think for the better assemblings and better studios for who go the road D4-5. This is a sensor what actually can record an area of 6 meters distance, and the most other sensors are only touching a 3-meter distance. And if you have the maximum distance to your recorded object, and the quality of the depth gets worse and worse, the sweet spot is somehow by 1.50 meters to 2 meters. So then you have 4 meter. And then you have only like an 1.5 square meter area in the middle what you can record with this. So the 3-meter approach is limiting you a little bit, but this is in general in this kind of segment the road to go. But this particular 455 sensor has the capability of recording. So the newer player on the market is Luxion. Let's zoom in because here is it a little bit tiny. So it's this Luxionis, and they have the going strongly so AI capability of segmentation and depth segmentation of faces, and so on and so on. Because in general, the filmed RGB plus the depth recognition system, what each sensor has a little bit different, is the mesh, and then you need to we are touching this in a bit. So then we have here in the middle we have the main player somehow from the big studios. This is a company Emergent. They are since long in the markets. They are having crazy high level production lines with all kind of You can go up. Mr. Blomkamp mentioned 24 frames per second. These machines go up to 100 frames per second in whatever kind of resolution you wanted. So this is a very special company for it. Their competitor is 101 Industries. This is the competitor of this company. And another new player on the market who tries to get a piece of the cake is Czym, and they are going super tiny, and they're having more end-user ways of connecting the data with USB-C and so on, or PCI Express interfaces. That's the newest thing. And then to touch, there are certain studios who actually bring, additionally to the depth recognition, they bring as well a motion capturing system into the recording stage, to then later add, for example, let's say some musician or whatever has a super shiny, or whatever, or there's an object what is, for example, in a way that it cannot be perfectly recreated in the 3D mesh approach because of the shininess of the surface. So then they're doing actually a scan of the same object, and then through the help of the motion capture system, you attach this to where you have been. So it's just a technical help for getting a better final result of the overall experience of the natural human performance with whatever he performs. So we will go on to next, and I go a little bit talk about what is the approach of the different recording systems. So it's RGB plus depth, or in some people just mention RGB plus LiDAR. So it's general global shutter camera, what is filming the action, and LiDAR sensor is for, and there is for example, the Asia has as well, and the Orbeck has infrared recognition as well. So they have a light, an infrared light, what they spread, and then they have a infrared sensor camera in there, and accordingly to how the code is used and the possibilities are the camera to the software with which you are recording, you can actually film with an RGB plus LiDAR in absolutely darkness. So you can make all the light off. The RGBs are in general capturing black, but the LiDAR, the infrared is recording you. So then in this kind of situation, you actually can go in with a tiny light source with it's maybe to less a candle, but like a light source with the wavelength of daylight, because every other day the wavelength has too much infrared. So you have a light, say, in the frame, and then have the approach in your recording. You have the chance of relax and the light, the particular fabrics or skin. That's benefit. The LiDAR has like negative emission plus wave through plastic, or so certain plastic objects or objects who disappearing in the stage. Not long ago, mine came to call tutorial video for the RE35. He bought an RE35 and wanted to have an AR tutorial video, how to rig and so on. And then we realized that, for example, the Bebop battery, when we are filming it in volumetric with the LiDAR approach, actually didn't show up at all. The only whether for the company was the sticker was seeable, but the body of the battery was invisible. So it has pros and cons. So we go over to the big studio approach. We have here, I found in the some examples by AI and by and even, of course, a little bit, it's always ahead and on the cutting edge of technology with his productions. So we have here an impression of how the day-to-day studios are looking like. I found here what is going study, you could so 40 people inside, and they are doing general Neil Bloom. They're doing high-speed photogrammetry. They are having several positions of the cameras, like their approaches with that the cameras are in a high frequency, or two setups like in a stereo rig, and then they are getting the depth from the stereo rig, and then they have less spots around the globe of recording to actually film and get the depth. Okay, we go on, and I bring one more time the track that we all can see the different main choices they are offering, and this is, like I said, it's for bringing in later objects who have been potentially used by the actor, and then you bring in this as a single asset to optimize the look of the asset. For example, when Mr. Blomkamp was saying there was a door, and we had a door would actually block too much view to the human actor, so only we put in a representation of the door, like a wooden frame, and then she pushes the wooden frame, and we put there the door in the position in the 3D engine. And this is happening a lot in volumetric video, yeah, so that you are changing actually props to representations of the props, who not that you cover as less as possible the recording of the human performance. Okay, let's go on. So by Microsoft, who explains how it's actually what are the steps. So the steps are that it's a recording, it's a processed image, it becomes a point cloud, it becomes a smooth mesh, it becomes a mesh, it becomes an MP4 file. So this approach actually has been used by the company DepthKit. They have been for a long time for the kind of indie creators and artistic approach people, the benchmark for the road to go. They have begun one sensor, actually another company would manage to already 2 sensors per system, but later DepthKit leveled up with a cinema approach that you can put a cinema camera attached to the sensor, and you can replace the RGB feed, and then you had a better fidelity of the color management. And then they went on to that you can record with 10 cameras as an indie creator. So, and then the other companies they followed, and everyone is now, there are three solutions somehow at the moment. There will be soon a fourth, maybe even a fifth, who are delivering of this indie approach. And we will touch this in a moment. So we go to the next page. So we have at the moment available for a proper mesh representation. I 3 products. There's one product more in development, and one product I haven't tested lately. My experience with the old version of this product have been that the mesh representation is not so good. So I will not touch this in this presentation, but we can cover this as well. So we have a general company, it's called Evercoast, and they have even recorded Mr. Zielinski beginning of the war, and I was even last days I went on FilmspringOpen, I was showing this is somehow how an volumetric recording setup with 19 or 21 cameras looks by Evercoast. And then there is another company, and Evercoast lately acquired the company DepthKit, and 2 competitors became one company, and so DepthKit was this benchmark company in the past, but the prices of both solutions are quite high. But I have to admit, the Evercoast work, how they work and describe the single steps of the process is very good. But my solution at the moment, what I'm using is scanned reality. It's actually the onlyest German/European solution what is for certain projects and big issue. So there's other European software available at the moment. So I'm in conversations with a company who will do a project about volumetric representations of certain people for educational reason, and they want to do this with 15 German schools, and I'm supposed to record the volumetric assets for them, and it was an EU there. So scanned reality is the onlyest at the moment software from the EU and follows the EU rules. In the post-production, we have one major brand, what is at the moment somehow the ruler of the post-production. We have an codec, what is called the accelerated volumetric video codec, and with this software and with this particular codec, you are capable of putting up to 100 assets in one Unity or Unreal scene. What is normally limited by most of the cases 2-3 assets, volumetric assets simultaneously in one scene, and then you would need to transition between scenes or fade them off and give others in. So with the AVV is the only way to get a lot of people into your scene. So what I brought on the sheet here is the information that every company format standards yet, and they are of course not compatible to each other. DepKit, Evercoast, and Scanned Reality, they have their own. And but for example, Scanned Reality has a very easy to go way to export single frame 3D files in folders, and then you can export either as GLB sequence, OBJ plus texture, or PLJ plus texture, and then you can go with this kind of content into the high-class post-production software. Compression is another big thing. Yes, the recording data is enormous. Like I'm recording like 1 minute with the maximum resolution. With Scanned Reality is around 30 gigabyte, and then the hyper compression to the lowest option for VR and AR is then a compression of 1 minute goes down to 18 megabyte. So it's an extreme from 30 to 80 megabyte is an extreme compression, but it's easy to achieve and still looks okay. Of course, there are ways to go because the hyper compression works then with keyframes, and the keyframes are actually assigned to the meshes, and the meshes then jump every 60 frames. So when you go the high quality post-production software Actorus, Holo Edit, then you get the chance to actually make the compression and decide for the iframes yourself, or actually an algorithm helps you where it makes sense and where not. So optimization with Actorus has definitely its benefits. So, and we will go to the next page, and so then we speak about the necessity of proper matching and then solid rigging. So I have taken out of my own recordings from the past some examples. So in the days when DepKit only could record one camera, one computer, but we're able to work with several computers in a chain. This company, EFEve, had the chance already with 2 cameras, 1 computer. So this was in the beginning of my research and my journey with volumetric video in 2020. I had both softwares and I was experimenting with both, but I stayed then more because I could already achieve kind of a full body only with a gap between as the camera filmed from the front and the back. So then I later, as I stayed in touch with DepKit, and I had once a client who just bought the entire DepKit solution, all the hardware delivered by the company and the software, but then the client was like, oh, actually it's even when it's potentially easy, it's not so easy to achieve a proper recording. So there's still a lot of knowledge needed to where to put the sensors properly, and a lot of twiddling and tweaking. And so they hired me, and even when they bought all it, And then they hired me, and they just gave me the license, and I used my hardware, what was as well DepKit Studio capable. I had them the chance to record for them, and I did with 8 sensors. In the past, 6 sensors, then 8 sensors with DepKit Studio. And by now, I arrived at scanned reality, what you see here down here. And scanned reality, my latest experiment and work for a client was with 11 sensors. And yeah, the results are really convenient and accurate. So yeah, that's at the moment the approach here. And we are going to go to the next, the importance of matching and solid rigging. We have the second page of it. And here you see how you actually bring together all the cameras that they know where they are. So in photogrammetry, you have a lot of photo cameras, or you move with your photo camera about a static object. But when the object is moving, you cannot go around with one camera. So in general, you would need crazy lot of cameras and camera positions to feed the algorithm of a photogrammetry approach. That's why the big studios have like 50 cameras these days, not like Bloomcamp here, 250. These days is the big major studio bought from the major company like 4D Views. They have like 48 cameras, and that's more or less the big studio approach. Every studio has, of course, a little bit difference, but in general, this is the number where the big studios are trying to go to. And I'm recording with 8 or 10 cameras, so the gap would be too big for the photogrammetry. From the original photogrammetry algorithm, there are now newer algorithms lately developed. They would maybe manage to bring by AI develop my camera, discover where my cameras are to then assemble the proper result. But even the big studios that we have seen in the video, they are using this marker systems. So, and then this was the marker. This was a marker here. What was one marker for 2 cameras? Then later they had this one marker, and you had to move and hold the marker over a period of time during the calibration session into every camera direction and between that the algorithm can recognize the system. And then DepKits have a multi-marker system what covers actually the height of a face or higher, and to the feet all the different positions are marked and aligned together. So and you can actually improve and fasten up this process even by building boxes or experimenting with, if you are offering the marker and alignment system, several markers in several directions. So this is the marker, the official marker promoted on the scanned reality page. And I actually, as they have much more marker in their recognition system, I went a similar approach to the DepKit approach, that I have an entire tower of marker boards who are then recognized at the same time. So here you see even like this tower and several other tiny boxes, and on several heights, what then helps to get the matching different markers. Honestly, best is to be used definitely a tripod, that the marker is that the board is not shaking, because the shaking would already bring your alignment system out of sharpness somehow. So we go on. So volumetric recording is quite intensive. I wanted to give you an overview what is happening in the industry and what are the different prices. So what I already mentioned before, 4D Views, it's a major it's one of several bigger companies. There are others like Sora, 8i. There are several brands who have established and have several recording studios around the globe. But this is now one of what I have known and have been in contact with. So, and this system is somewhere between 350 and 450,000 euro for the pure RGB approach. So, and then you have to run, you have to hire people, you have to do post-production. So, and recording is such a major studio. The results are amazing. We will touch this. I will show some recordings because I have visited such a studio, and I will show how the results are and compare what I can offer software at home. So, and then there's, for example, one studio in Poland. The name is Nemosis, and it's registered in Krakow. I believe the studio is in Warsaw. I haven't been there. I haven't been in deep touch with them, but I checked their homepage, and they have been heavily supported by the European Union. They got 2.5 million euro by the European Union, and the overall costs were 3.6. So, and they have a major deal with the Polish Sport TV, the public Polish Sport TV. So the investment, the involvement, they have as a fixed partner, the Polytechnica of Warsaw, if I remember correctly, and then so they have a really monstrous investment, and the results are really hyper, but the prices are as well extreme high. Like, I got to know that there was a quote in the air, like, you get a minute for 25,000 euro, like 100,000 zloty. So it's a lot. Maybe it changed by now a little bit, but this is what I heard in the past. Then there have been is Evercoast actually acquired DepKit, and Evercoast sells you their hardware for $40,000 and they charge you for the yearly license $30. So that's something I could run my somehow, but yeah, the license is quite high, and the mid segment is limited in their budgets, as the mid segment are mostly not hyper commercial. They are mostly cultural money, and the museums are my clients, or universities. So they don't have access to these high numbers, and they can't afford to go to the major studio. So that's why somehow they end up in my area, and this is I can get this software for them and do it then still cheaper than the big studios, but it's a decent amount of money for the licensing here. So, and then as Evercoast bought DepKit, I remember that the DepKit costs were around 40,000 euro, but I have been 2 days ago on the homepage, they reduced it to 27,000 euro, but the year license is 36,000 euro. So another big studio from London, I got once hands on a major quote of them with a closed test, test day, test, and so on, all like high-class productions, pure RGB, 50 minutes of content was £60,000. That's what was the offer of the studio. Now Scanned Reality has a 7,000 euro license here. The hardware, accordingly what you want to do, it's still a 15 to 25,000 euro investment. That is what I did for my stage. So, and then not to forget, there's always post-production and optimization, and Scanned Reality has already inbuilt really decent optimization solutions, but if you want to go the step higher for a little bit more quality, then it's another license, $3,000 a year from the actors from Hollywood. So, and I have 2 months this year, I had the chance to work with this software, testing it, and yeah, I have I got my knowledge and learned how to achieve decent products. And there are players, they have players for Unity and Unreal, and they have a very advanced relighting system already considered. Relighting is, of course, a big topic, and I have soon, with the Scanned Reality results, and a friend of mine who is a Houdini artist, we will do some extra tests and figure what we are capable if we are involving a Houdini person and getting maybe a more cinematic result for relighting. Okay, we go on to the next sheet. And we have here a render of a really advanced studio from London. It's the Studio T3D. And yeah, this is somehow how most of the studios more look like. And then we see here in Compare that this is somehow the setup of what I have done. I was shooting together with the owners and creators of the software AFE years ago, and we did a 12 sensor recording in Vilnius, Estonia, Latvia, and so you see that there's a big difference between this and them. But here, for example, in the in the studio of the major studios, you have as well more or less only 1.5 to 2 meter radius of movement area where you can be in the sweet spot, and then on this 1 square meter where you are more or less have not so much movement. But it's all about how high fidelity you want to have the result. If it's an art project, or they are often saying, like, I don't care if it's a little bit getting over the too much, I would like to give my actors more freedom, and then we live with the glitches, because actually we are either planning from the beginning to put a shader around the mesh, or they say, like, it gives this recording a more authenticity. So in the very past, for example, there was black and white film, and black and white film was even used for the daily news in our TV channels and so on. And then video was invented, and video took over, and actually black and white was pushed into the corner to the documentary people. But as black and white was used for an authenticity of a daily news information, so somehow it became the medium of the authenticity, of the truth. It's more reduced to what is happening in front of the camera. And this way you can as well think about the indie volumetric to the high-class volumetric, because the indie volumetric is not so capable of tweaking and fiddling so much. So if there's an imperfection, actually the imperfection for documentary reasons represents that there's no touch-up, there's no cleaning, there's no optimization. It's the truth that you see. And I have certain feedback from different people where I use this kind of glitchy content even in VR, and they were like, oh my God, even when it's a moving point cloud, I feel that the human power, the reality of the performance. So the differences are quite intense in the investment, like this kind of thing, around 25 hardware investment, and time you need to invest, and this is more or less mostly around or so. The differences are quite high for such a minimum difference of movements. Fidelity, of course, is bigger better, but I will show you the fidelity of the tiny recording space, and it's already quite close. So we go on. And so then we have use cases where it's supposed to go. I took now certain examples from the internet. So here, this is it's the company Vertigo Games. They did it in a 4D views studio run by a Dutch company called 4DR, and they did high class recordings, but still they wanted to have a ghosty look. So they went a little bit transparent, put a little bit of fog around the characters. But still, I have been in Eindhoven in the Netherlands. I have seen the original recordings, and the quality was absolutely stunning. But still, certain use cases they go more the ghosty look. And such a ghosty look you could already more or less achieve even with a recording like I own. Then there are guys like Roy Mitchell, is an American who lately did an AR experience called the 10. Was awarded on several festivals, and he was traveling around the world. And so AR is coming and getting bigger, and especially with the Quest ES and the Apple Vision Pro and the Snap glasses and so on and so on. There are so many new devices out there where you can bring actually storytelling into public space, into streets. Like, you can free the theatrical or narrative storytelling into a public space, or location-based entertainment, like we had an hackathon with Wavel. We could bring actors in costumes and have a look into the past of Wavel with real human performance. So, and then we have here a picture from Arcturus I used for showing that as they have been a really often choice for the post-production, and then the Canon sports will become as well a major topic in this volumetric industry. And in the very tiny corner down here, there was the owner of DepKit, James George, and he had once a presentation that they achieved live streaming into Unity, and it could be then used for a fly, like a drone kind of approach of an artificial drone camera in the Unity, that a video streamer who actually streams to YouTube could have a breathing flying camera turning around him during his gaming or doing whatever. So even the streamers will have the chance to touch this kind of medium. There's of course sales. There's a company called Mantis Vision, and Mantis is going deeply the road of recording models in underwear or garments, and then they are changing digitally clothes, and you can go through a catalog of clothes, and you as a shopping person, you can see different kind of models, different kind of body shapes. You can see the clothes, how it folds, how it moves realistically. So it's in fashion, advertising, gaming, broadcast, training is a big thing. There's a company in America, in America, they're training cops with this kind of thing. So they have a video wall system, and they, instead of having their CGI characters, what they had in the past, they put their volumetric recordings of the of real humans who are then acting out that they are there, they have a gun or they have a knife, and then the police person has to learn to interact with this and to keep cool and so on. So it's a risk and crisis management training system, and this happens more and more in different fields. So dance and culture is there. Virtual production is using volumetric at the moment still mostly for the backdrops to fill up more distance character in the distance of certain shots, because the fidelity often of the hero asset resolution, we often say, yeah, it's not good enough, but this is actually changed in months or latest a year or something, because in the very end I will first of all I tried now to jump with you on the stage and show you a short and recording. But as well, there is a new technique called Gaussian splat, and Gaussian splat in movement is 4D GS, and this is at the moment revolutionizing the volumetric video, and the fidelity and the tiny hairs was often a problem. Use hairs to not so messy haircut or whatever. So this kind of things are a problem. Or glasses. I have no glasses already at the moment, not on. Normally I'm wearing glasses in the stage. The plastic of the glasses is actually not recognized as object. So but the RGB sees that. So the glass is from sitting here glued onto your face. So this kind of things. That's why you have you work with a rig in a volumetric body, not to puppeteer the volumetric body, but to bring in back the assets what you normally the character is wearing, as the glasses as well with a reflective surface, and this brings problems. So, but the Gaussian 4D Gaussian splats, Gaussians in movement has no problems with anything of it. So this problem will be removed, and certain techniques will be installed in the different softwares to combine volumetric with Gaussians, because for the optimization and volumetric asset is still better, because you work with textures and you can scale the textures, optimize the texture, optimize the mesh. A Gaussian is always a representation of X viewpoints, and all these viewpoints have to be rendered and played back. And so there are companies and research facilities who are trying to reduce the need of cameras. I have an example of a really high fidelity 4D Gaussian splatting, but they use 80 cameras, 80 or 100 cameras. So and then I have another example with 50 cameras, and it gets better and better. The number of cameras goes down, but still you need a global shutter camera, otherwise in high resolution, like a high megapixel chip. You need for each camera a lens. The lens needs to be stopped down because you can't have a tiny depth of field. So you have to have a lot of light. And all this kind of facts lead very fast to a setup that costs, again, €500,000. So not many people are able to record movable Gaussian splats at the moment, because the investment is for so many cameras, linking it, cables, server system, storage system, post-production, it's still costly. So when it comes to a mid-segment or whatever, volumetric is still the road to go. So let's go on. We have now the market and the rise of the volumetric studios and the attached markets. So every year, for several years, Actorus, this main post-production company for volumetric video editing, they made lists about which studio, who's in the market, who's active, who's registered. This these are the kind of papers or pictures have been released over several years, but now they switch to a map. And actually, on my homepage, I have as well this map, and I'm even actively putting, for example, my locations in. And since 2 days, there's an Argentinian guy who has as well a scanned reality stage with a full setup. So I put him in as well, so that we have an overview of the individuals and the major studios where they are and where you can actually get in volumetric recording. So it's the United States have the most spread over the country. In Europe, we have more or less mostly one studio in one country. Yeah. Here the Mimosas is registered in Krakow, and then I'm living partly in Sopot, so I have registered me here up there. My normal spot is here. We have in Berlin 2 or 3 studios, in Paris 1, here in Switzerland is the 4DU one, and we have some in Spain, and England has a little bit more, as England is part of the more English-speaking high-class cinema productions. They have more volumetric studios. And of course, the China-Asia area with Japan, they have as well their studios and their system. Different companies, different markets. The estimation done by an Indian researcher group, they researched that the market of volumetric video is at the moment in 2023, it was 2.58 billion US dollar. And they predict from 2023 to 2032 rise to 19.92 billion. So it's a growth of 29% annually and so on. So the predictions is, especially with the view on Disney was showing in the presentation of the Apple Vision Pro that they go strongly into 3D content, extending 2D content. So there will come a new market, and the Quest with the pass-through modus, there will come a new storytelling approach, either as a marketing medium or as a general storytelling medium. So these are the predictions, and yeah. And then I brought as a last page, I brought in a company what is called the 8 Wall, and the 8 Wall is somehow at the moment ruling an AR transmission of this kind of assets, because a lot of people, they don't want to install apps what has a lot of data. The assets are, even when they're hyper compressed, but still it's data what people have to install. People have a problem with installing apps on their mobile phones, so it's web streaming, and the streaming is the major solution. What most of the people are going for is the 8 Wall, and then you stream your content, but you go into a subscription model where you sign for how often or how many megabytes are streamed over you per month. So these are different models. So this way, and they're doing a 3-dimensional map and VP visual placement system, VPS system of the entire world. They want to scan the entire world, that you can really put everywhere properly, and story or storyteller and acting, dance, performance of a theater company whatsoever. So that's now the end of my slices. We have, I think, only 10 minutes left to touch fidelity of the different recordings. So I will now stop sharing the presentation, and we'll go, for example, to a recording what I did in the Netherlands. I can show it in the way that I just downloaded this this video, because I have it shared on my homepage anyway. So I will go here, and then I will how is it named again? Let me see. How did I put it here? So this is the one video that I recorded today morning, and of course it got lost between all the other things that I have. So let me wait. Making of the downloads. So I will show it to you directly. I open the 4D view player, and I will open locally my recording, and then I will share. It. It's a question if this is running when it's not look. Okay, that's interesting. So I share now this particular, not entire screen. I will share for the view player, and let's say here we are in the player, and we see a recording of my wife, me, and my son, and it's really viewable from all the angles, from everywhere, and you can really move freely, and then you can use this in 3D Engine and do whatever you want with it. And the quality, the resolution is amazing. You can see, I try to keep the face of my son out of the transmission. Yeah, the quality is quite high, and you really get a good result. So I will stop sharing this picture, and now I will show you something what actually I do at home. So let's take, for example, let's this clip, and then we'll share what is possible. For example, this is a very speed up. So that's the media player share. So here you see me, how I have recorded myself, and what is possible with. Then you see on the side you see an Unreal Engine recording where it's written and non-written assets, and you see actually the quality of my home stage is not on the level of the super high class studios, but it's quite close. So it can be already a very interesting conversation on FilmspringOpen this year with a game within supervisor for character design, a game studio from a major game studio, Blue Byte, or not Blue Byte, Blue Bell, and this guy was like, oh, actually, it's interesting for him to use my volumetric recordings for his character animation artists about how close is actually making these little things when they are really moving. So we had some conversation about this. So the use cases are quite different from working field to working field. So, and now if we have 9 minutes left, I would start recording, and you hopefully can see something that we do live directly in front of your view. So I will close the transmitted video, and I will start the recording software, and I will start. Okay, this is there, the lights. So let's see. We have here. I will with you window, and I have this here, for example. So now we are in my recording software, Scanned Reality, what I'm at the moment using. And can you see? I will double check. Yeah, you see what I see. Very good. So these are like it's a 102-second recording, and it's 60 gigabyte, and it was a rough recording application. And let's go, for example, to a recording what I very often used in the past. This was a summer sale thing. So we see here, this is the rendered. I have the chance to decide which kind of settings I want to have for the exporting and for the rendering. And so this is the quality you get out of my home system. What is quite so, but every recording, every direction, every surface, you have to double check: is this shirt, is the movement of the actor proper to your camera positions? That is the work what I do. But normally, it would be better to record with 12, 15, 16 cameras, but I record 8 and to only spend really decent amount of time for rearranging of the and then doing the test and doing this. And you have to maybe arrange the cameras, do another match, and then you have to again work progress. The workflow of achieving a good result is really like a day, maybe even 1.5 days or 2 days. It's really accordingly to how much experience you have and how you get the want to achieve. Now, recording, yes, you can see this test that they're a little bit frontish, the position. This was the camera based, and then actually the camera didn't saw this element. So other cameras were seeing the direction, but and here under the arms is seen, and you position. And the is this realistic enough? Where they look, person who only wants to see errors and wants to find it, or is it a person who wants to guide it through and act and to experience the performance? So I will now go to for of this review, that you can see how it looks that it was recorded. So this is for example the raw recording. This is the way how it looks when it's not developed. Yeah, you have to develop the different position. So it's the point cloud what Blomkamp was talking about. It's the point cloud what is in the beginning shown and it's not cleaned, and then after you are going for rendering it, you can do a test reconstruction like a snapshot to see if the alignment in general was good, and after the test shot reconstruction, you have the chance then to render the movement frames you are interested in. So I would then say, yeah, this looks all quite okay, and I would then approach and render to see from when to when we want to have this take. So we are having 4 minutes left, so I will stop sharing this and come now to you again somehow. And yeah, that's I would say 1.5 hours with tiny interruptions of technical issues about volumetric recording, and I hope the film audience who have not been in touch with this medium had the chance through my lecture to get to know what I'm doing and what medium about. When you want to get to know more, I have always a homepage where I'm sharing my work, and this I will do one more time a share of the screen. So here's my homepage. It's martend.com, and you have here several different projects or tests that I'm actually publishing, and the different projects. And so you can find my contact data in the very low. And so yeah, I hope you enjoyed the lecture, and you will maybe get in touch with me. You want to go more, or you want to go the road of volumetric recording for your project. So yeah, to the contact data. Okay, so yeah, I hope it was effective, and I'm open for questions, but we reached already a lot of minutes. I would say the best way is to reaching to me is via email or via WhatsApp. But introduce yourself, because normally if someone who I don't know writes me on WhatsApp, just get a message by a phone number, and this person doesn't introduce himself, I'm blocking and deleting the conversation. So write an email or write in WhatsApp and introduce yourself and what is the issue, and then I will get to you, and we will have a conversation about volumetric. how I could potentially help you. Thank you. And thank you, Mateusz, for your technical support. I know that you had some issues with the official channel of Spring Open, and we will see when this lecture will come online available. Okay, thank you. And yeah, hopefully next year on Filmspring Open in live that we can actually do experiments with volumetric recording on the spots, and we can play with Unreal and Unity. We can make even a tiny test for your potential project on Filmspring Open 2025. Bye.